Hello everyone. So today I would like to present my research proposal with the title is the effect of the 10th grade students English narrative writing skills through the use of digital storytelling at SM Anak DENPASAR. But before that, let me introduce myself. My name is Widya Anom Dewi with student number 2211171059 and my absent is 16. I am from 682 PBI DENPASAR. Next. For the next slide is chapter 1, introduction, background of the study. So writing is one of the four important skills in language learning. It helps students to be able to write or make an essays, proposals, articles, and stories. In reality, even though English has been taught in Indonesia, the students still have some difficulties in learning English, especially writing for senior high school students. And narrative writing skills are highly significant to convey an idea, culture, and everyday deeds, especially in educational settings. Teachers also have a very important role to improve students' narrative writing skills and find a good strategy to help students' difficulties. Teachers nowadays use some technology um, as a strategy to improve learning process in the classroom. The teachings and learning strategies that may help, such as learning purposes, is digital storytelling. Digital storytelling involves writing a story and adding multimedia elements such as a voice, imagery, and music to create a visual narrative. The study explores how digital tools can foster students' creativity, engagement, and motivation. Furthermore, the findings of this research can provide educators with valuable insight for creating innovative teaching strategies that effectively integrate technology into language learning. For the next is research questions. So in this research proposal, I put three research questions, such as for the first is, what is the effect of digital storytelling on 10th grade students' English narrative writing performance? The second is, how does digital storytelling influence the process of narrative writing skills on 10th grade students? And the last questions is, what are students' perceptions of digital storytelling on narrative writing skills for 10th grade students? Next. Okay, for the next is research objectives. So the first research objective of this research proposal is to determine the effect of digital storytelling on 10th grade students' English narrative writing performance. Number two is to investigate whether digital storytelling influence the process of narrative writing skills on 10th grade students. And the last is to find out students' perception of digital storytelling on narrative writing skills for 10th grade students. Next. Next, we also have the significance of study. We have two significance, such as first is theoretical significance. So this study is important due to explore the effectiveness of 10th grade students' English narrative writing skills through the use of digital storytelling at SMA Negeri 4 Denpasar. This research can serve as a reference for educators in developing innovative teaching strategies that blend technology with language learning. We also have the practical significance, so digital storytelling, which incorporates multimedia components like visual, audio, and animation, may be the most effective technique to engage students' learning experiences while enhancing their narrative writing abilities. It can encourage students to be imaginative and creative and makes it simpler for them to convey their ideas in a meaningful way. Next. For the scope and limitation of the study. So the goal of the study is to find out how digital storytelling media affects the development of English narrative writing skills in areas including story structure, such as plot, setting, and character development, language accuracy, creativity, grammar, coherence, and idea organization. The study focuses on how students assess the impact of digital storytelling on their narrative writing abilities in the 10th grade students. However, the study was only carried out in one school, which is SMA Negeri 4 Denpasar, so it is not generalizable to other educational settings, and the participants also limitations only 10th grade students from SMA Negeri 4 Denpasar. Besides, this study used experimental design, so the researcher only chose two groups, for instance, experimental group, and control group, which cannot be generated to other participants. Next. Chapter 2 is conceptual framework. So this is the conceptual framework of my dependent variable and independent variable, and then the relations. So A, brainstorming and planning. Planning and brainstorming to other developments is related because the students can use brainstorming to produce and arrange ideas for the tale that they will write. And then the second is planning and brainstorming. It can foster creativity by assisting students in coming up with original ideas for their projects. And then story structure can influence by brainstorming and planning because students can start creating the narrative framework during brainstorming. B is drafting and revising. So grammar and vocabulary benefit from drafting and revising. Students can concentrate on their grammar and then vocabulary use by writing and revising. Next, we also have the study structure influenced by drafting and revising. So students can enhance and correct the narrative writing structure through revision. And then idea development. So it's aided by drafting and revising since drafting clarifies and details concepts. Next. So number C is peer feedback. Benefits of drafting and revising for grammar and vocabulary. By writing and editing, students can focus on their grammar and vocabulary use, and then drafting and rewriting have an impact on story structure also because students can improve and fix the narrative writing structure through revision. And then since drafting clarifies and details notions, so it facilitates idea development. Number D is final presentation. So the final presentation allows students to express digital storytelling by presenting the story, which fosters creativity. And then the final presentations help students with their grammar and vocabulary by allowing them to check and make last revisions before the presentation. Final presentations aid in the development of ideas by forcing students to consider the message and the way they will tell the tale to the audience. So next slide, please. And then we also have the research hypothesis. For the first is null hypothesis. So the 10 grade students at SMA Negeri 4 Denpasar who learn through digital storytelling and those who learn through traditional storytelling do not significantly differ in their narrative writing abilities, including idea development, story structure, grammar, vocabulary, or creativity. And then the alternative hypothesis. So when compared to traditional storytelling, the use of digital storytelling among the 10th grade students at SMA Negeri 4 Denpasar greatly enhanced their English narrative writing skills, including idea creation, story structure, syntax, vocabulary, and creativity. Next. So chapter 3 is research method. So in this research proposal, I used the research design called quasi-experimental research design, which use pretest and then post-test. So next we have the research setting. So this research will conduct at SMA Negeri 4 Denpasar, Bali. And then the research time start on February 2025 to June 2025. And then for the research population, so my research will use 117 students majoring in social science for the 2025 academic year. And then for the research sample, this study will use cluster random sampling to select the participants from a total population of 117 10th grade students at SMA Negeri 4 Denpasar in the 2025 to 2026 academic year. And then for the data collection, this study will use all the data will be collected by using quantitative approach with an experimental design, both a pre-test and a post-test for two groups, which is experimental group and a control group. Next. So for the research instrument of this research proposal will be used for tests, which is narrative writing test. So the narrative writing test will serve as the primary instrument in this study to evaluate or to assess student narrative writing skills both before and after using digital storytelling as a teaching technique. And then because I will use quasi-experimental design, so the pretest and post-test also will be used in this research as the research instrument. And then the next we also have a questionnaire. So the purpose of the questionnaire was to get better understanding of the students' motivations, views, and experiences using legal storytelling tools in relation to narrative writing. So I choose questionnaire because in the research questions, I put that I want to see the students' perception. So that's why I want to put the questionnaire to see the results of students' understanding and the students' motivation and so on. And then for the research validity and reliability, for the validity, so the instrument for this research will be a narrative writing task that is graded using a rubric that considers five key elements such as ideas, story structure, vocabulary, grammar, and writing rules. And the validity of the rubrics will be checked by two English language teaching or ELT experts who have verified that each criteria is appropriate and relevant for evaluating narrative writing. And then for the reliability scoring, so two teachers in this study used the same scoring guide to score the writing test. And then the ratings range from 1, which is very bad, to 5, very good, for each component. And then the researchers will use a statistical test called Pearson correlation to determine whether two writer scores were similar, and if they were not similar, so they discussed the writing and came to a consensus on a final score. Next slide. So that's all for my research proposal presentation. Thank you.